your mind.
It's Friday, you bastard.
You know, girls, it's great to live in a democracy today.
Really?
Where freedom is everywhere.
Really?
But girls, we often take this freedom for granted. Freedom of speech.
What?
Freedom of thought.
What?
And freedom of action.
I'm just wondering.
But you know, gals, just because a bunch of men signed that Declaration of Independence in 1776 doesn't mean that freedom was for men alone.
No.
Oh, no, you take Tom Jefferson.
A founding father.
Ben Franklin.
You know.
John Hancock.
Adorable.
He's a hell of a guy for you right there.
Adorable.
All these men had wives.
Yes.
They probably had a few broads on the side, too.
Callista.
These women wanted freedom just as much as their men did.
Really?
But, gals, I wonder, do we? I think it's time that we women thought about it a bit.
I'm wondering.
Hell, I think it's time we did something about it.
Hell.
So come on, fellow females of the 20th century.
21st.
Declare that you're an American.
Oh, God.
Proclaim your freedom.
Oh, God.
And attention.
Oh, God.
Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance.
And bounce your boobies. Get into the swing.
All right.
Bounce your boobies. The swing is everything.
Really?
It makes no difference if they're big or small.
Does too.
As long as you give him your all. Bounce your boobies. Come on, honey. Bounce them up and down. Bounce your boobies. Come on, bounce your boobies. Come on. Loosen the bra that binds you. Take it off if you feel like it.
You're good, buddy.
Come on,
You're
bounce your
good.
boobies. There we go. Doesn't that feel good?
No.
Bounce your boobies. You know, girls,
What?
men aren't the only people in the world today who have something to give.
Are you sure?
But it sure looks like it sometimes. Just look around you. Men stick out all over the place. Big fat cigars.
Yeah.
Big fat stomachs.
Yeah.
And just where they should stick out,
Maybe I need to ask forgiveness.
where is it? Yes, girls, we know what we've got and we know what they're worth. So come on, gals. Let's get into the swing of things. Give your boobies some freedom. All together now. Bounce your boobies. Let them rock and roll. Nudge your knockers. Keep them hot and sold.
I don't know.
Just admit it, gals. It sure feels great
Let 'em.
to feel them swinging. Ooh, titillate.
Ew.
Bounce your boobies. Come on, bounce them up and down. Bounce your boobies. There, look at that gal. She's going in. Bounce your boobies. Oh, doesn't that feel good? Bounce.
Ow.
Bounce.
Ow.
Bounce.
Ow. Ow.
Bounce. Your boobies now.
Everybody! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! 12 segments to beer. All right, here's the schedule. Just so you know, don't wig out, don't freak out. I'm going on vacation next week for a week, long planned. Can't change it. Kids are involved. Children. Got to do it for the children. So Nicole will be here. This will be her last fill-in for us. So I'm glad that it will be her. She's done a fabulous job for us for 4.5 years. So Nicole will be in next week, and then we'll be back. We will be back, and we'll do the final 2 weeks together. Yeah. Okay. All right, so that's the schedule. So don't freak out. All right, so Clive and Bundy, he's back. He's everywhere now. He's going to be on Dancing with the Stars, and he's going to be a new judge on The Voice or something. I mean, I just can't even. Where's the love for Sean Hannity? He's the guy that gave you your first break in show business. What are you doing on the CNN, Clive? I mean, not only is he a racist, not only is he a violator of federal law, not only is he an insurrectionist, not only is he a terrorist, but now he's also disloyal to Sean Hannity. Wow. Unbelievable. So maybe CNN is using him to replace the plane. He's already been on twice. He was on last night. He was on this morning. I hope that they're using Clive to replace the plane. Because, straightening out Clive then would be probably as easy as finding that damn plane. which, by the way, did you see they got very excited yesterday? They found a piece of metal with rivets in it that had washed up on the beaches of Australia, and this was it. This was going to be it. And then they said, the more we look at it, the less excited we are, and that's how I feel about CNN. It's exactly how I feel about them. It's crazy. So now, instead of following the search for the plane, CNN is breathlessly following the search for some kind of rational statement from Cliven Bundy, and they're not finding that either. He gave a press conference last night that was so bizarre, and and it's like somebody wrote these talking points for him. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, Cliven Bundy doesn't know many words, but why does he keep using the same ones? He keeps using the same damn words over and over. It's like, it's just a coincidence, right? That's all. It's a coincidence that he uses the same words that I think, the Republican elected officials, the Rand Pauls, the Ted Cruzes, the Greg Abbotts, the Dean Hellers, the elected people, the people from, the area who ran the sheriff, Mr. Mack, they're just pissed off at Cliven Bundy because Cliven Bundy forgot to use the code words. So I guess they had to write them down for him. And he just, I don't know, he keeps going off their script and just wigging them all out. So now, he instead of saving the love for Sean Hannity, he gave a new word today to, what's his name? I always want to call him Mario Cuomo or Andrew Cuomo. Chris Cuomo. He gave an interview to Chris Cuomo. They're all Cuomos. Or Bundys. There's a Ted Bundy, there's an Al Bundy. In fact, if you took Ted Cruz and you mixed him with Cliven, you'd get Ted Bundy, is what you would get. Isn't that weird? Wow, coincidence? Yes. These elected people are just wigged out that he's getting off script. And today he was talking to Chris Cuomo, and he gave us a new word. He gave us black boy. Black boy. Thank you. Thank you, Cliven, for a new word. Black boy. Oh, my God. And, it's all just a coincidence, the whole thing, I mean, the jokes, the emails, the chain emails, the revolting comments, the Newt Gingrich comments about work ethic, the Rick Santorum about giving money to the black people. Oh, I'm sorry, Rick. It was blah people, right? He meant to say the blah people, because that makes much more sense. Yeah, I mean, all these things that they said, the birthers, the Alan Wests of the world, the Paul Ryans with the inner city, the Newt Gingrich with they don't have, an adult in the house for a work ethic. It's just a coincidence. Mitt Romney with the 47%, and they're all takers. And, the National Review comparing Cliven Bundy to Rosa Parks and Gandhi. And Gandhi, this was their, I mean, it's just, Richard Mack and the Oath Keepers and Hannity with his love for George Zimmerman and his love for Michael Dunn and all these reports on, how they're not racist. I'm the racist for bringing up their racism, for pointing out their racism, for shining the light on their racism. Somehow shining the light on racism has become a grievance industry based in racism. It's just, wow, it takes your breath away. But, you see the T-shirts, you see the posters, you see the witch doctor with the bone in his nose at the Tea Party rallies, you see monkeys, you hear people comparing Obama to monkeys, you have the birther movement. But it's just a coincidence that the guy that they embrace turns out to be and Sean Hannity, I must tell you, he's appalled. He's appalled. It's despicable. It's, lamentable, whatever. I mean, he must be serious because he pulled out like every multiple syllabic word that he could, pull out of his, limited multiple syllabic word bag. So he must be very serious. But, I mean, this interview this morning was just so insane.
I understand that the government was very aggressive with you, and many people think it was wrong. I understand that people are upset with the government. The question is, what is our reaction? Your reaction was to say that you wonder if Negroes weren't better off as slaves. Now, are you a racist?
No, I'm not a racist, but I did wonder that. But let me tell you something. I thought about this morning quite a bit.
Please.
And I thought about what Reverend Martin Luther King said. And I thought about Rosa Parks and taking her...
Rosa Parks.
her seat at the front of the bus. Now, Reverend Martin Luther King
and Rosa Parks
did not want her to take her seat in the front of the bus. That wasn't what he was talking about. He did not say, go to the front of the bus and that's where your seat was. What Reverend King wanted was that she could sit anywhere in the bus, and that nobody would say anything about it, and that you and I could sit by her anywhere in the bus. That's what he wanted, and that's what I want. I want her to be able to sit anywhere in the bus, and I want to be able to sit by her anywhere in that bus, and that's what he wanted. He didn't want this prejudice thing like the media tried to put on me yesterday, and I'm not going to put up with that because that's not what he wanted, and that's not what I want. I want to sit by her anywhere in that bus, and I want anybody to be able to do the same thing. That's what he was after, is not a prejudice thing, but make us equal.
Right. Martin Luther King. Why do they always dredge up Martin Luther King as if they would have marched with him? As if they would have, if they only knew. I mean, this guy's 67 years old. He could have, what I mean? He just didn't know. He was isolated out in the desert, stealing land for grazing. He didn't know. I hate to tell you this, but Martin Luther King, when he said, I have a dream, he didn't say, I have a dream that someday a crazy old racist rancher can say whatever he damn well pleases and no Negroes are going to mind a bit, and I don't think he ever said that Rosa Parks shouldn't pay to ride the bus, which is Cliven Bundy's position. Cliven Bundy is riding the bus for free, you see. Do but every time they get in a jam, well, I want to reinterpret what Dr. Martin Luther King, I want to bask in the glow of a guy who is nearly a saint, really. Dr. Martin Luther King, I mean, do you ever wonder, what if God was one of us? Just a stranger on the bus? What if God was one of us? We would kill him, because that's what we've done. We need to get over this prejudice. Yes, start with the Negroes, Cliven. Oh, my God. What? And it just gets really, really weird from it. That was the good part. Because you could see he's like, somebody's talking to him going, hey, we use code words around here. 19 after.
I was in Indianola a few months ago, and I was talking to someone who works at the Department of Public Welfare here, and she told me that the state of Iowa is going to get fined if they don't sign up more people onto the Medicaid program. They're just pushing harder and harder to get more and more of you dependent upon them so they can get your vote. That's what the bottom line is. I don't want to make people's lives better by giving them somebody else's money. I want to give them the opportunity to go out and earn the money.
The Tea Party is tired of blacks, Negroes, Muslims calling us racist.
I have obviously failed to galvanize and prod, if not shame, enough Americans to be ever vigilant not to let a Chicago communist-raised, communist-educated, communist-nurtured, subhuman mongrel like the Acorn community organizer gangster Barack Hussein Obama to weasel his way into the top office of authority in the United States of America. I am heartbroken, but I am not giving up. I think America will be America again when Barack Obama, Eric Holder, Hillary Clinton, Dick Durbin, Michael Bloomberg, and all of the liberal Democrats are in jail, facing the just due punishment that their treasonous acts are clearly apparent. So those are, a lot of people would call that inflammatory speech. Well, I would call it inflammatory speech when it's your job to protect Americans, and then you look into the television camera and say, what difference does it make that I face?
To Allah, this president is not a president of we the people. He's the president of his people. I call upon all of you to wage a second American nonviolent revolution, to use civil disobedience, and to demand that this president leave town, to get out. to put the Quran down, to get up off his knees, come here and demand the resignation of Obama and other leaders who have subverted the interests of our country.
No, it's just a coincidence that they all say this. It's just a coincidence that they say that he is a black Muslim, that he is other, that he's not legitimate, and then as soon as you call them out and you say, we've never heard anybody call this, our president, the president of the United States, somebody who is ineligible to be president because of, he was born in Hawaii, but, because of his skin color or because of his lineage or because he's not, they say, oh, well, there's nothing racist about it. And then when you call out Rick Santorum, and he was talking about welfare, and he was talking about all these, code words that they have, food stamp president, no work ethic, inner city, sitting on the porch, doing nothing, Negras, we're not. And then they just downshift after they say all these racist, horrendously hurtful things about the president and about other people. But we're not racist. Denial is a tough one. It's a very, very tough one. People who are in denial never, ever, ever, ever have the ability to cure what ails them. There is not a chance in the world that these people who say these things and then deny that they're racist, they're obviously in denial, have a shot, a chance, a prayer at overcoming this disease of racism. And it is a disease. It's something that screws up their thinking, screws up their decision making. It's really kind of frontal lobe dysfunction that, happens when you drink too much, or happens when you smoke too much, or happens when you shoot too much, or snort too much, or, whatever. I mean, it's the same thing. It's a freaking disease, and they're addicted to it to the point where, it's like, being caught as a teenager with cigarettes burning in your ashtray in your room, and your mother walks in, and she says, "Why are you smoking?" And you say, "I'm not smoking." You're never going to be able to quit smoking if you're going to lie about the fact that you are smoking when she catches you red-handed. You know what I mean? It's like, it's such a disease, and it's really rampant in this Republican Party especially. And the idea that they won't recognize it means they will never apologize for it, make amends for it, and do things to stop it. And you know that's true because their leaders simply won't condemn it. They simply won't speak out against it.
The hustlers come in and start to demonize America, lying about it, saying that white people want to hurt black people.
If any race of people should not have guilt about slavery, it's Caucasians.
The race hustlers and their sympathizers have descended into the gutter.
Now the president say Trayvon could have been me 35 years ago. Oh, this is a particularly helpful comment. Is that the president's admitting that, well, I guess because what? He was part of the Choom gang and he smoked pot and he did a little blow?
Young black men often reject education and gravitate towards the street culture, drugs, hustling, gangs.
61 people died in Chicago, and I have their names right here.
My sincere belief is that the African-American community is being devastated by the collapse of the family. White people don't force black people to have babies out of wedlock.
It is to perpetuate the myth within the black community that all blacks remain helpless victims of white supremacy.
This president, I think, has exposed himself as a guy over and over and over again who has a deep-seated hatred for white people or the white culture. I don't know what it is.
Yes, it's us that's doing it. It's people on my side that are, the white supremacists. We're the ones with the problem. Can I just give you some facts before we actually go any further? Calling people out for who they have shown themselves to be. I don't know why this is the sin against all humanity, shining a light on people who are literally into pointing out that there's some disparity in the black community and white people have nothing to do with it, and that there are no white supremacists in the Republican Party, and there is no acquiescence in the Republican Party to people who, would say racist things. They don't accept them. They shun them. They shame them. They throw them out of the party. They don't want to have anything to do with that. I mean, how many stories are we going to have to see Fox and their ilk and the conservative right-wing talk show hosts, find just another loser, another Zimmerman, another Michael Dunn who doesn't like rap music so much that he kills kids, and that's fine because, they had to have been thugs. I mean, the music was so loud. Do you know what I mean? They find a Bundy in the desert, and he becomes their guy. They find a Rick Santorum who says, I don't want to give money to black people. They find a Paul Ryan who's willing to say, oh, there's a problem in the inner cities with a work ethic. They find a Newt Gingrich who says, those kids have nobody to look up to. Their fathers aren't working, and they're so lazy. And you've got Phil Robertson on Duck Dynasty saying, hey, I remember sharecropping. They were happy. They used to sing songs. The black people were much better off when they were enslaved or sharecroppers, or, the black family survived centuries of slavery and discrimination. But then once they were free from the yoke, they started disintegrating in the liberal welfare state. Can I give you some facts, okay? Here are the facts about middle-class people in this country. The latest numbers I have are for 2010. Middle-class black families, 40% of black families are middle class. 38, almost 39% of black families are middle class. 43% of white families are middle class. Doesn't that suggest to you that if it's roughly 40% for black families and white families, that 60% of black families and white families are not in the middle class? And if you look at, who's rich, it's 1%. So isn't that the problem? Isn't the problem that 60% of everybody lost their wealth, their greatest source of wealth, which was their home? Isn't that a problem? The problem isn't that black people, don't make it to the middle class and that white people do. The problem is that 40% of black people are in the middle class and 40% of white people are in the middle class, but 60% of everybody isn't in the middle class. That is the problem. Why do they keep on picking out black people as having some unique problem that isn't facing white people? There are white ghettos all over this country, and everybody who's honest knows it. Everybody knows the poorest counties in this country are rural, white rural counties. Those men, those boys, those kids are hanging around downtown doing absolutely nothing all day long, waiting for the check so that they can go and buy the damn drugs. And that is an epidemic in this country. And that is a problem in this country for everybody in this country. 60% of the people that aren't working are both black and white. I looked at the crime statistics. I looked at everything. There's really no difference except to say that although 9% of white people are pulled over and 9% of black people are pulled over and 9% of Hispanic people are pulled over, African Americans are almost three times more likely to be handcuffed and arrested within that 9% than white people who are pulled over are handcuffed, searched, and arrested. The whole thing is like institutionalized. You look at, Yeah, 3 times more likely. 3 times more likely to be searched than whites, 3 times more likely to be handcuffed than whites, and 3 times more likely to be arrested than whites. And according to the U.S. Department of Justice, African Americans have sentences for drug convictions of more than 1 year in prison, in state prisons, than any other offense. These are nonviolent crimes, but blacks are imprisoned much more regularly than whites are for the same offenses, the same exact offenses. And then you have the nerve to sit there and say, why is there a problem with keeping black families together? You know, slavery did this too. And what is with the happy memories of intact families during the slave times? You know that in slave times, parents were sold off. A father could be sold off. A kid could be sold off. A daughter could be sold off. Your mother could be sold. What are they talking about? These wonderful times that they long for with these intact families that survive. And by the way, I want to give you some numbers on black-owned businesses. Black-owned businesses in the United States increased by 60% between 2002 and 2007. There are about 2 million black firms in this country. Those black business owners employ about 1 million people in this country, 921,032 people. That is an increase of 22%. Their payrolls total $23.9 billion. Receipts from black-owned business total $98.9 billion. That's up 50% since 2002. In 2007, 1.8 million black-owned businesses had employees, and those receipts totaled $38.6 billion, an increase of 69%. I mean, the number of black-owned businesses with receipts of over $1 million or more increased by 35%. The problem isn't middle-class black people, and the problem isn't middle-class white people. The problem is that people are being kicked out of the middle class because they lost their assets, and their most valuable asset was their home or their 401k. And that was because of a great heist, a giant bank heist that the Republicans have clearly decided they're going to cover up. And the only reason why they single out black people is because of the way black people vote. Black people, young people, and women vote the same way. This is why student IDs won't be accepted in Texas, but concealed carry permits will. This is why they go to great lengths to suppress the African-American vote, to take away early voting days, to take away Sunday voting days, because souls to the polls works. Because people go to their services, then there's a bus waiting outside, maybe they have a little, something to eat, and then the bus takes them to the polling place, and they all vote together in a communal way, and they love doing that, and it's a tradition. And they want to break that tradition. Anything that holds a community together must be broken if that community is young people, if that community is women people, and if that community is black people. That's the problem with African Americans as far as the Republicans are concerned. The problem is the way African Americans vote, the way women vote, the way young people vote. And that is why there's an all-out attack on single women, because single women vote Democratic almost all the time. That's why there's an attack on youth, and that's why there's an attack on African Americans. That is the simple, honest-to-God, fact-based truth. But they keep on using this great divide that doesn't exist anymore. In fact, you want to know something? Here, this is like the best article of the day. This was written by Jane Tim for MSNBC, actually. There was a report that came out. The real long report is global, it's in Global Research. It's an Associated Press report. It reports that 80% of all Americans deal with joblessness, near poverty, or reliance on welfare at some point in their lives. 4 out of 5 Americans live near poverty, without work, or rely on welfare at least one time during their lives. Okay, so 4 out of 5 Americans, that cannot be all black people, right? Okay. But the really, really amazing thing is that they found in this study that racial disparities in poverty are almost non-existent. We've reached equality, everybody. We've reached equality. Racial disparities in poverty are lessening for the first time ever. The number of white single moms living in poverty is equal to the number of impoverished black single moms. Congratulations, women, we've done it. They have... that's the war on women. That's why there's a war on women. That's why they always attack the family unit. They always blame the single mothers who are busting their asses. Okay? The whole idea is to depress single women, to depress the African Americans, and to depress young people who vote Democratic. And the only problem that the Republican Party really has with those three groups is we don't vote for them. And therefore, we must be marginalized, despised, called names, have a meme about us that we're somehow less than everybody else. But it's untrue. It's untrue. Whites see their economic futures deteriorating. 63% called their families' economic futures poor. 76% of whites will face a year or more of economic insecurity by the time they're 60. Minorities face the greatest risk of falling into economic hardship, with 90% of non-whites living near poverty in their lifetime. We're all terrified, okay? Every single one, 4 out of 5 of us are nervous about our futures. And that is because the money has gone to the top 1%. That's why you have numbers that clearly show that about 40% of African Americans are in the middle class and 40% of white Americans are in the middle class, which means 60% of white Americans and 60% of black Americans aren't. And the number of people who were middle class is deteriorating as well. The bottom 40% of the population owns 3/10 of the nation's wealth now. 3/10. And the top 20% owns 84% of the nation's wealth. And these right-wingers will go out there and they'll say, well, look, top 20%, they're supporting everybody. That's because they own everything. You know, the more you own, the more taxes you pay. The less you own, the less taxes you pay. We would like to own more and pay more. 46.2 million Americans, 15% of this country is poor. Now, before the war on poverty, 25% of this country was poor. And we really made a good run at it, and we got it down to 12%, and then we gave up on it. And over the past 30 years, they've said, not only don't we want to lift people out of poverty, but we want to take the middle class and decimate it. And then we're going to tell the white middle class that the blacks did it to them. And that's exactly what the Southern strategy was always all about, dividing people along racial lines. And now the Republicans, they do it like out in the open. And when you call them on it and you say this is ridiculous, the stats don't prove anything about what you're saying. What the stats prove is that your policies have caused Americans who were in the middle class or in the upper middle class, who were business owners, et cetera, to lose their main assets, which were their 401ks, which was their home. More people are renting in this country than doing any other thing. I mean, this is anathema to a great and meaningful America. The middle class is the most important part, and they knew that, and they broke it. And they broke it, and now they're saying to the white people who have never, really thought about this, that, they are reaching equality on the bottom of the scale, but not reaching equality on the top of the scale. They've decided that it's Republican and Democrat. Well, I got news for you. It's oligarchy and democracy that are at war with each other. And they call themselves Republicans. They're Republicans. But the reason why they can't change the policies that cause this is because they're for the policies that cause this, because they are oligarchs. They created over 30 years a plutocracy. They want corporate rule. This is why corporations are people, my friend. Corporations should be in charge of your life, everybody's life. They know better. They know what kind of religion you should have, whether you should have contraception. They know where the money should go in politics better than you do. They know who should be unionized, which is no one. They know what you should make, which is not minimum wage. They know that you shouldn't have a safe work environment because it makes you lazy or some such crap. Listen, these people are on a mission, and they have been doing this for 30 years. And quite frankly, in this weird way, race has nothing to do with it. It's just a sledgehammer they use to convince poor and middle-class white voters who are hanging on by their fingernails who to blame for this. It's deflecting the blame from who did it to them, which is their leadership, their elected officials, their crony capitalism, their deregulation policies, their tax code, that's who did it. And they just need to deflect the attention. So Now it's going to be, listen, we've reached equality. In a horrible way. It's unbelievable. 10 till.
Racism has been whipped up by the left, by the Democrat Party, as a means of silencing its opponents. The Democrat Party is not about self-reliance and rugged individualism and freedom. They're about dependence. They need people depending on them. They don't want people exercising the kind of creative freedom and entrepreneurial freedom that can launch them into a circumstance where they don't need government to get by. Democrat Party's always been based on racism. They formed the KKK. The Democrats are the ones that wrote and passed and signed and enforced every Jim Crow law
God
has ever been in this country.
Yeah, except the whole South
They're
flipped.
the ones that wouldn't let blacks at the University of Mississippi. They're the ones that fire-hosed them and dogged them. It's Selma. It's the Democrats were the big segregationists. And they have now just turned that around and make that charge of racism everywhere to silence critics. Look how effective it is. There is no criticism of Barack Obama, absolutely none of any substance from the Republican Party because they're so afraid of being called racist.
Oh, my God. I don't know what fantasy world they live in, but I wonder what corporate America would do without government subsidies, without government largesse, without the tax code favoring them, without carried interest, without, billions of dollars to the most profitable industries. I mean, they're the ones that, obviously latch on to government and decide all that money that we pay in taxes belongs to them. And the tax code must redistribute that money to them, or else you will be denigrated. You will be marginalized. You will be put out of business.